Hey Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Collides MTG. And today we're going to talk about the top 5 cards from Standard that new Capenna is going to inject into the format. That's probably going to shape how and what we play in the Standard format. I know some of you may not care about Standard, but with the Pro Tour coming back, there may be a time that we play Standard. Maybe. I know it's on Pioneer. And the next video we'll talk about Pioneer effects from this set. But today, let's talk about your average Standard day. So, with all that said, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comments down below, feed that YouTube algorithm to help get us more views. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. That is our goal. If you've done everything you can, if you subscribed, told all your friends, got them subscribed, you still want to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. You can check the links in the description to the eBay store. There's a Patreon page, and there's even my personal email. You can feel free to reach out and ask questions of anything that you like. So, with that said, let's take a look at the top 5 cards that are going to have the effect, in my opinion, in Standard. So, we'll start off with Honorable Mention, which is, that's right, Fetch Lands. So these are not traditional fetch lands that we're used to. These 5 fetch lands, fetch lands is a term I'm using very loosely here, obviously. When this land comes into play, it automatically auto-sacrifices. You search your library for a basic card of the 3 types that the, it's not a guild, demon gang, I guess, would normally use, and you pick one of those to put it into play tapped, and then you gain 1 life. So these are basically tap lands, and that's one of the reasons they didn't make the top 5, just because they're tap lands. Now, with that said, these are very powerful, and these very well could shape the modern format for Standard. But for those fast, quick decks, these are not the kind of things you want to run into. Because you're going to need an untapped land, and this is not going to give it to you. So, there you have it. There's our honorable mention. Now, let's start off with card number 5, which we honestly have a tie, because I couldn't make my decision. We have the Tenacious Underdog, which is a black and 1 for a 3/2, already good, comes into play untapped. When the Underdog is in your graveyard, you can cast it using Blitz. Now, the Blitz ability on a card is, for this example, for the Blitz cost, you can pay 2 life, you can cast it, it has haste, it attacks, it sacrifices itself in a turn, and then you draw a card. The best thing about this is, early game, you play it for 2 mana, it's a 3/2. You block and kill something with it. Later, you spend 4 mana when you've got nothing else to do, you pay your 2 life, you attack with it for 3. Whether they block it or not is irrelevant, because you're going to get to draw a card. And if they can't block it, you're going to do 3 to them, 2 to you, plus draw a card. It just seems very, very powerful in a Standard format, where removal is probably going to be on a premium, where everybody's going to be using it. The ability to play this out of your graveyard on a regular basis just seems insane. And you may ask yourself, but Captain, you said this is tied with something. So this is tied with another black card, which almost has the same effect. And it may be a little bit of a pet peeve. This one may be really number 5. This one might not cut it. But I also have high hopes for the Shakedown Heavy. So for a black and 3 to get 6/4 menace is insane cost. That's like the best thing you could hope for. Now, with that said, if you try to attack with Shakedown Heavy, the defending player can have you draw a card, and if they do, you have to untap Shakedown Heavy and removes it from combat. So you can't actually hit them with it. Now, with that said, 3 mana, put this on the field. If they can't deal with it, they have to let you just keep drawing cards every turn. Yeah, they may never kill it, but at some point they're going to have to, because if you draw 2 cards of their 1 every turn, they can't win a game like that. It's just not possible. And this is not legendary, so you could have 2 or 3 of them out in a quick black aggro deck, or black splash a color aggro deck. This could easily destroy somebody. Plus, the fact that they have to make you untap it and draw a card, it means that if they're playing an aggro deck and you're obviously going to outpace them with a 6/4, they now can't attack because your creature's untapped and you drew a card. So not only can they not afford to take 6 damage, they can't afford to give you a card, and they also can't afford to give you a blocker that's this damn big. So I think these two black cards are really going to fight to be what I would think is number 5. They're both different costs, so they're actually a different spot in the curve. So these could easily be in the same deck. I have lots of hopes for these cards, and I just really think they're going to be really, really, really nasty. So with that, there's no more ties, no more honorable mentions. We're just going to go straight down the list of what I think, and maybe you'll agree with me. So let's start off with number 4. That's right, number 4 are Triomes. Triomes in general, a land that produces 3 mana. Yeah, it comes into play tapped. Who cares? It cycles for 3, so late game you don't have a useless land in your hand if you start to flood out. I think Ikoria really showed us how powerful these Triomes are in actual games. Not to mention the fact you can actually fetch them in Modern, which, hint, when I do the video on Modern, I think these might be on that list for the simple fact that you can use fetch lands to go get them. Like, these things are insane. They're really powerful. Probably one of the most powerful lands they've made in a very long time, with little to no drawback. Coming and play tap is the drawback, but we'll talk about Modern later. So, with that said, I think number 4 easily slides into the Triomes, which is just the best mana fiction you can get. All right, moving on, we have number 3. We have Voidrend. So number 3 and number 2 are really close. Voidrend got pushed down to number 3 because Voidrend is 3 colors, and the next card is only 2. But the thing that Voidrend has going for it is you destroy target non-land permanent for those 3 colors, and they're on blue, black, and white. Esper has always been a sweet deal, and when the cards are there to support it, it's one of the most powerful colors that there is. And I really think that this, destroying any non-land permanent, plus it can't be countered, so you win the counter war when it comes to removal or whatever. I think this is just very powerful. Like I said, a close race, neck and neck between 2 and 3. But I think there's some stuff on number 2 that really outweighs all the benefits that Voidrend does have. So next, let's move on to what I think number 2 is. And number 2 is Fatal Grudge. That's right, guys. I picked an uncommon. Why would I do that? Yes, it's a sorcery. I know. Yes, you have to sacrifice an non-land permanent to it. I know. But this is a 2-color spell. It's a red and a black. You sacrifice an non-land permanent. Each opponent, Commander All-Star, mind you, each opponent chooses a permanent they control that shares a type with that sacrifice permanent, and they sacrifice it. And the big thing that got me on this one is draw a card. I mean, you can sacrifice artifacts to get artifacts, creatures to get creatures. If you have a planeswalker, you know it's not going to live, and they have a planeswalker, why not sack your planeswalker to kill their planeswalker plus draw a card for just 2 mana? This card seems like it's worse than Voidrend on a lot of levels, even when I look at it. But the more I look at that 2 mana and I look at drawing a card, the sacrifice of permanent effect is really a coin flip. But to me, I really think this is going to be a big deal moving forward. Because also there's planeswalkers in black red, right? That do some things, and I just think this card's going to have a lot of flexibility, and I think this card is easily number 2 in standard on the cards that are going to have the effect on a format. So, with that said, what could number 1 possibly be? Well, what could it not be other than this? That's right. Number 1 is the good old Luxior Gideous Gift. Yeah. This thing is just broken on so many levels. I can't even describe them to you. I mean, this is like the Shadow Spear on like lots and lots of drugs. For 1, it comes into play as a 1. You equip a Planeswalker for 1, anything else for 3, and it says the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. And it says here, equipped permanent isn't a Planeswalker, and it's a creature in addition to its other types. So what that means is if you lay a Planeswalker and you get it up to 5 loyalty, you can put this on it, now becomes a creature, which it does make it killable, so whatever. But if it's got 5 loyalty, it's now a 5/5 creature. And for 1 mana on your next turn, you can unequip it, use the ability, put it back on it, and now it's, instead of a 5/5, it goes up by 1 or maybe even 2, now it's a 7/7, you can swing with it. This just seems disgusting. And not only that, there's lots of other things that when they come into play are going to have different kinds of counters on it. There's shield counters, there's this counter, there's that counter, which is going to make this very, very powerful. But the main thing I think is going to make this really powerful is the fact you can equip your planeswalkers. I mean, why do you need creatures when you can just make your planeswalkers creatures? Especially when they're really big and you can't deal with them. So I really think this is going to be the next Shadow Spear and the number one thing that's going to move the market in the standard format. With that said, could be wrong. There's lots of multicolored cards, lots of things may happen. But at the end of the day, I really think this is going to be the end all beat all when it comes to standard power cards. So, with that said, guys, I hope you liked the video. Until next time, be kind, and as always, I hope to see you at the pre release across from the game table.